Hey guys, welcome back. It's Ripe again, back with more entitled people stories. In this video, a man repeatedly trespassed on my private property up until I finally had enough and taught him a lesson. Let's dive right into the video. And the first one is titled, I almost got arrested for trespassing. So I, 38 male, got engaged to my fiancée, 37 female, about 3 months ago. We've been dating for almost 3 years. She has 2 kids from a previous relationship, ages 15 female and 12 male. Their dad is involved in their lives, and for the most part the adults all co-parent and communicate well. I get along really well with the 12-year-old, but I've always struggled to build a relationship with my soon-to-be stepdaughter Riley. She has made it very clear to me, my fiancé, and her bio dad that she does not view me as a parent and doesn't want me to try and be a father to her because she already has one. A few days ago, my fiancé sent me a text asking me if I could pick up Riley from school because she had something come up at work that was gonna keep her late. My fiancé usually picks up Riley once a week and brings her to a chiropractic appointment to help with a sports injury Riley got. She told me she would call the school to let them know that I would be picking Riley up because I was not on the approved pickup list yet. However, when I got to Riley's school, it quickly became apparent that my fiancé forgot to call the school. The school has locked doors that require you to have a code or be buzzed in by the office. I buzzed into the office to let them know that I was there to pick up Riley and that my fiancé should have called to let them know. They didn't know anything about it. I was left waiting outside for 5 to 10 minutes while they figured it out. I tried calling and texting my fiancée, but she did not answer. Then the school resource officer, an actual uniformed cop, came out and told me that I would have to leave and that if I refused, then he would arrest me for trespassing. I tried talking with him, but he just kept saying that I was not authorized to be on school property and that I had to leave. I had no choice but to leave without Riley. Finally, an hour later, my fiancé called me back. I explained what happened and she apologized for forgetting to call the school because she got distracted with work. She told me that she would figure it out and meet me at home. When she and Riley got home, Riley went straight to her room. My fiancé sat me down and told me that Riley had lied to the office and told them that she did not know who I was and had never seen me before. She thought it would be funny. She told me that she explained to Riley how dangerous that was and was gonna work with Riley's dad to figure out a punishment. Needless to say, I did not take that news well. I admit I did raise my voice to her. I did not yell, but I did get louder than I usually talk. She told me to calm down and I told her that I won't calm down because her daughter almost got me arrested because she thought it would be funny. And well, I told her that she is just as responsible for this as Riley is because she did not call the school and it put me in a position where I looked like a creep or predator. My fiancé thinks I'm overreacting, that I need to let her and Riley's dad handle this. And yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know what you think about this one in the comments, but I would say OP was definitely not overreacting here. This was a serious situation and I myself also would not want to be trespassed from a school just for trying to pick up my kid. Anyway, someone in the comments said, NTA, look, OP, I think you need to consider your future with your fiancé very carefully. Yes, she dropped the ball not calling, but Riley could have easily rectified the situation had she been honest. I highly doubt she meant it as a harmless prank. Riley is 15, I assume she has access to the internet, TikTok, the news, etc. I feel like she is old enough to evaluate the social implications of what denying you would do, and she did it anyway. Unless she is really just that stupid, this feels much more malicious than a prank gone wrong. Although you might love your fiancé and your relationship with her aside from this is good, Riley is never going away. And her attitude towards you might never soften, especially after she receives punishment for this stunt. She could learn her lesson, or she might resent you even more. Riley will always be in a position to cry wolf, and although ultimately she might be proven wrong, are you prepared for the hassle of dealing with that if she decides to do it again? I don't mean to be a downer and just assume the worst possible scenario going forward, and I'm not saying that your relationship is just over. But this could have had very serious consequences. Again, even if Riley eventually came clean, people's lives have been ruined because of these false accusations and the loss of public opinion. I just think this warrants real thought on your part and real discussion with your fiancé about how serious this really is. Comment number 2, not the a-hole. I'm gonna preface the rest by saying that I am an a-hole. The kid does not want you to parent, fine. Don't ever pick her up for appointments, extracurriculars, anything, etc. That is a parent's job, not yours. Don't pay for anything for her, Parents' job, not yours. Most importantly, since she is willing to lie and get security called on you, never ever be alone with her ever. Frankly, I'd be asking if the mother is really worth this. It's not gonna get better. And yeah, Ripe Stars, unfortunately, so far there have been no further updates to this situation. However, let me know in the comments what you think about the story and what you would have done if you were in OP's shoes. Would you have dropped the relationship, or would you have just continued and maybe spoken to Riley? Let me know in the comments, and now let's move on to the title story. It is titled, I shot a guy who repeatedly trespassed on my property and threatened my kids and wife. So there was a guy that just seemed obsessed with showing up on my property, and by the time police would come, he was always gone. There was not much they could do but take a statement with his description and keep a lookout. They could not station somebody at my house 24/7 to wait for him to randomly show up again. He didn't have anything super defining about him and looked just like a generic kind of guy. I do believe, based on his mannerisms and later when I spoke to him, that he was on drugs or something. And most likely breaking into homes to steal things to pawn to get money for more drugs. I don't know what about my house specifically seemed so enticing to him, but it did. Usually when he showed up it would be later in the day, and honestly, it was not even like he was trying to break in most of the time. He would just walk around the property for a while and then leave on his own, or when I would shout at him. Always before police came, no matter how sneaky I was trying to be, so he just seemed to know. This went on for a couple of months until one day everything changed. He showed up during the day, which was odd, and I was outside with my family since it was a nice day. I saw him walk onto my property, and by this time I was sick and tired of his crap. Me, get the hell off my property. I told you that I called the police on you and to stay the hell away. Man, I just need something to you know. Me, leave me alone, leave my family alone. Just go away and stay away. Man, no respect, man, no respect. Me, I'm not gonna respect you. You clearly don't respect me. I'm calling the cops again. Man, you don't wanna F with me. Call the cops on me, I'll make sure to kill them pretty girls real good. He walked away after that, but I was beyond angry. He took things way too far by threatening my wife and daughters. He also mentioned doing another act to them that I did not want to add direct wording for, mainly wanted to show how broken and messed up his talking was, and that he seemed to be on something even though it was about noon. Even though he left, I was told by police to always report what happened, to add to the ongoing report, and have a paper trail. I did that, but it just didn't feel good enough. I saw the police not able to do a damn thing, and he had threatened my family. I decided that I was done just sitting and waiting for the problem to get solved slowly. I knew that he was eventually coming back, and when he did, I was ending things once and for all. I heard a window trying to be opened during the night about a week and a half later and knew this was my opportunity. He was trying to break in which he sucked at, by the way. He would just see if a window or door was unlocked and then just wander around for a while before leaving. This time I ran downstairs and brought my gun with me. I know this doesn't apply everywhere, but I live in a stand your ground state. Meaning for this case, if somebody is breaking into your house, you are allowed to defend yourself with a gun. I went outside and pointed it at him. Me, you're done here. Done. Man, nah, see, I was just going to see my dude's house, and like you know how it is. Me, shut the hell up for once. You threatened my family and then think it's smart to come back and break into my house? He was getting mad, but so was I, so it seemed even. Now I just want to say that I didn't go into this with the intention to actually shoot him. I figured he would see the gun and run away for good this time. I didn't count on him being dumb enough to try and puff out his chest at me. He told me yet again that he was going to hurt my family, and my body kind of reacted on its own. I pulled the trigger and shot him right in the shoulder. He was on the ground in seconds, rolling around and screaming. He was also looking around for the shooter, as if he forgot that I was pointing a gun at him and everything. He must have been out of his mind from whatever he took. The police were called, and this time they arrived and saw the man they had been trying to catch for 2 months. He was screaming for help and that he had been shot by the police. Making no sense as usual, I'm being arrested for repeated counts of trespassing and theft. The theft being that he did manage when he first started to steal from me a few times, but it was never anything major. This guy was probably the world's worst thief, and how he was never caught before was shocking to me. I was terrified that I was also gonna get arrested for shooting somebody, but the cops assured me that I was protecting my home and family and was fine. They would just need to take statements and do a ton of paperwork to have this entire thing sorted. He was also being charged with drug possession once they searched him and did a test to see that he was on a bunch of illegal things. He was most likely going to prison with the evidence the police had against him. I had a ton of emotions going through me and cannot remember half of what the police told me that night. I was happy and in disbelief that the entire thing was over and I didn't need to worry about him coming onto my property anymore. Honestly, I was shocked that I actually managed to pull the trigger and shoot him. I was just a total mess once the adrenaline wore off and I realized everything. They told me I might need to speak in court, but he would most likely plead guilty with all the evidence they had against him. Edit: a lot of you were asking me if I had security cameras set up or why I didn't. I forgot to mention it in the original post, but I did get security cameras to be able to show the police what the guy did. The issue just never was the fact that they couldn't see what he looked like. It was the fact that he looked like hundreds of other guys, and he was never there when the police showed up. The videos would have been good if you wanted to take the case to court though. Edit number 2, I found out after posting that he did plead guilty and was going to prison for theft, trespassing and drugs. I was also asked about getting the money back from things he stole. There was no point in a civil lawsuit because he had no money or assets for me to win. He never stole anything too expensive, and even if he did, my insurance would have covered it. Him being gone was really the only thing I cared about, since I never knew if he was just gonna snap one day and do something crazy to my family. And the next one is an insane Florida trespasser story. So we got a squatter in a currently flooding investment house in Boca Raton, Florida. I bought this property back in January and it's under construction up until April when work had to stop due to a supply shortage. One of the construction workers notified me a few hours ago that the property was flooding. I asked him to do what he can to mitigate the damage. He then sent me pictures of different door locks and gates chained up. Someone is living in the house and wouldn't let his team in. I called Boca Raton police to report the trespasser and they cannot do anything right now. Not sure what I should do to protect my investment. The property insurance hasn't been updated with the upgrades and still considers the house a 3x1 ranch when it's now a 5x3 2-story with a detached dwelling unit above a garage. Any help is appreciated. I don't live in FL full time by the way and won't be able to make it back to FL until this coming week. Update: water levels are going down. My plumber is gonna rip down the gate on the back side of the property tonight and try to make entry. He is licensed to carry a concealed weapon and will be carrying. I've left messages at 7 different real estate law offices and I've bought airfare to return Tuesday morning. Update to the squatters in Boca Raton property story. After I last updated the original story, my plumber tore down the back fence and was confronted with a bunch of Haitians. He left and waited for me to get into town. He didn't want to call the police because he has a failure to appear warrant. Tuesday was a long day. As soon as I landed and got into my car, I drove down to my place on Summerland Key to get my AR and other self-defense items. It was Tuesday night before I was back up in Boca Raton. We went to the property around 11 PM, I approached the back patio door with a rifle in hand and was greeted with someone holding a hammer. They saw my rifle, screamed something in another language, and 6 to 7 of them took off out the front door on foot. The lawyers I talked with on Monday were next to useless and all said it could take several months to reclaim my property. My property is in bad shape. It might be a total loss due to the flooding and Haitians using various closets as bathrooms. I get that life is hard, but it doesn't give people the right to destroy other people's things. Update number 2. I called the police and they wouldn't do anything about it. It would have been great if the police wanted to help me, but nope. My plumber is a good guy who didn't show up for a traffic citation. Obviously, I was not hunting, only carrying for self-defense. Update number 3. I contacted another lawyer recommended by a friend. He specialized in property disputes and, unlike the others, seemed to understand the urgency of the situation. He filed an expedited eviction notice based on Florida's unlawful detainer statute. He explained that while the squatters may have some rights, their blatant property damage would work in my favor. The lawyer also advised me to document everything, the damage, the police reports, and all correspondence with the squatters. He warned me against any further confrontation, emphasizing that it could jeopardize the eviction process. Within a week, the court granted the eviction order. The squatters were given 24 hours to vacate the property. I hired a security company to oversee the eviction and prevent any further damage. The police were also present, ensuring the process went smoothly. The squatters left, leaving behind a mess. The property needed extensive repairs, but at least it was back in my possession. The insurance company was initially reluctant to cover the damages, but my lawyer helped me negotiate a settlement that covered a significant portion of the repair costs. It was a tough experience, but I learned a lot about property rights and the legal system. I also realized the importance of having a good lawyer and a strong support system. I'm rebuilding the property and taking steps to ensure this never happens again. And yeah, Ripe Stars, that's honestly one of the most infuriating things it seems about the United States. These rights that squatters have, I just cannot comprehend it, honestly. Why would you give any rights to people squatting on other people's property? That just seems like such an oxymoron. If there's a good reason to give squatters rights, please let me know about them in the comments, because I just cannot think of anything. The next one is an Am I the A-hole story. I was out for lunch with my 5-month-old son and he needed to be changed. I went to the restroom, but I found the men's did not have a changing table, so I went to the women's restroom. I walked in there and there were some hushed whispers from a couple women. Wouldn't have guessed it was about me if it weren't for what happened next. But everyone else just went about their business. I was sorting through the diaper bag, getting everything I needed ready to go, when a restaurant hostess approached me and said, "Oh, sorry sir, the men's is actually at the other end." I explained that there was no changing table there and she said, "Nevertheless, this is the women's room and your presence is making some of our patrons uncomfortable." I was kind of flummoxed and said, "I'm fully clothed, I'm not peeking under stalls, I just want to change my son and finish my meal." The hostess began to get upset and said, "I understand, but how about your wife comes and changes him?" And I told her that we were there alone. We were starting to attract attention in the restroom at this point, and one of the women said, "I've been there with 4 of my own, I can change him." The hostess seemed to think that was a suitable compromise, but I wasn't comfortable leaving my baby alone with a stranger to change him. I said this, and another woman who I think is one of the ones who complained said, "Then go home and change him at home, or lay your changing pad on a counter surface in the men's bathroom." A woman with her added, "Cisgender men are not entitled to violate our space this way. You're making people uncomfortable. You need to respect that." This was the first quiet meal out I had had since he was born, so I just ignored her and started to change him. The hostess got the manager, a man, who called from the door that I needed to leave, but I was not about to drive my baby home in a soiled diaper though, so I finished up. So yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know in the comments whether you think OP is in the wrong here or not. Let me tell you, the comments on Reddit were very split on this issue. There was not one, "Oh, everybody's the a-hole here, this guy's the a-hole, he's not an a-hole," or whatever. Pretty much every single comment was different. So comment number 1 says, "So everyone sucks here, but only because you did not announce yourself/intentions before entering the ladies' room." A quick, "Anyone in here? I'm sorry, but the men's room has no changing table and I need to change my son's diaper," would have gone a long way into putting people on your side. The restaurant is definitely the a-hole for not having changing tables in both bathrooms, and that cisgendered comment is absolute BS and unnecessary. Comment number 2, the sexist world we live in. It's truly insane that there are no changing stations in most men's bathrooms. I could go in forever about this, but I will save it. You're welcome. Unfortunately, you are the a-hole here. You cannot just go into a woman's restroom when they have asked you not to. The appropriate thing would have been to change the diaper on the front counter in front of everyone working there to prove a point about how they need to change their layout. Comment number 3, not the a-hole. If the people are so uncomfortable with your presence, then they should have just have the hostess be with you for an extra second while you do it. You're being a good dad, keep at it. Also, might be worth it to write into the management about there not being a changing table in the men's bathroom. They are not expensive and are reasonably easy to install. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, I'm definitely not a fan of the comments OP received from the women in that place. However, I can understand that some people are comfortable if he just comes in unannounced. However, I'm not sure if anything would have really changed if he said, "Oh, I'm a man, I need to change my son, can I come into the women's bathroom?" I think some people would have still been uncomfortable. So honestly, I'm not really sure what to do here. However, one thing is for sure, a husband, or rather a father in this case, trying to change the diaper of his baby should not have been so difficult to do. It's an everyday thing and it shows a lot when it is so hard for a father to do this. I guess in society it's still less accepted to be a single father or in general a father that changes the diaper of a baby in public. And yeah guys, if you cannot get enough of my content, please don't forget to check out my podcast by searching for Ripe Stories on all major podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple or Google Podcasts. Furthermore, you can find bonus content by going to patreon.com/ripeyoutube or by clicking the join button here on YouTube. For a small monthly fee, you will get access to dozens and dozens of exclusive videos you won't find anywhere else. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.